Hey there, and welcome. Just a quick note before we jump in. This explainer was made by Forge College. Okay, so if you've been following along, we just wrapped up integrating ecosystem protocols and backend patterns, basically building an incredibly robust, idempotent Solana backend. But let's be honest here, all that backend power doesn't really mean much if the user can't actually interact with it smoothly. So today, our goal is to build a sleek, aerodynamic front-end chassis to match that massive Solana backend engine we just built. Let's get to work.
I love signing 47 transactions while staring at a spinning wheel of death. Yeah, right. Said absolutely no Web3 user ever. I mean, we've all been there, right? You click a button on a DApp and you're just left waiting. You're wondering, did my money just vanish? Is the network down? Is the UI just completely frozen? Well, today we are officially killing the infinite loading spinner and fixing the blockchain highway. We're going to make sure your users actually enjoy using your application.
So let's take a quick breath and look at exactly where we are on our journey. We are deep into the capstone project, full-stack Solana DApp module. Month 1, that was all about smart contract design. Month 2, we tackled backend patterns and adapters, specifically integrating those ecosystem protocols. And now in month 3, we're transitioning directly from our backend prep right into the UI. We are officially in the front-end performance and user flows lesson. We've got our stubs, our mocks, and our adapters ready. Now we build the face of the application.
Okay, here's the blueprint for our UI today. Section 1, setting the stage. Section 2, caching to speed things up. Section 3, RPC batching to carpool our data. Section 4, wallet flows and connections. Section 5, lazy loading and performance. And finally, Section 6, finalizing the capstone. Let's dive right in.
Section 1. Setting the stage, building the chassis.
We really need to frame our mindset here. Think about it like this. The back end is the engine, and the front end is the steering wheel. You can have this massive twin-turbo V8 engine under the hood, but if your steering wheel is completely disconnected or, has a 3-second delay, you are absolutely going to crash the car. A powerful back end is entirely useless if the front end is so laggy that the user can't navigate. We need our steering to be tight, responsive, and completely predictable.
Section 2. Caching. Speeding things up with Glovebox NACs.
I absolutely love this analogy. Caching is basically like keeping snacks in your glove box. Why would you drive all the way back to the grocery store or, in our case, make a totally redundant RPC call across the network every 5 minutes when you can literally just reach into the glove box? When it comes to caching, we've got a great toolkit, but you gotta pick the right tool for the job. For managing server state and frequent reads, I highly recommend React Query. It handles automatic retries, deduping those annoying duplicate requests, and managing stale data totally effortlessly. You can set a stale time of, say, 10 seconds, and boom, duplicate requests are just gone. If you want something a bit simpler, SWR is great for lightweight fetching. But if you have really bulky, semi-static objects like a massive list of token metadata, use IndexedDB. It persists across page reloads, which saves your users a massive download every single time they open your app.
Section 3. RPC batching. Carpooling data. Seriously, why rent 10 cars when you can just take a bus? Ask yourself, why would we send dozens of individual chaotic separate read requests to our backend when we can just group them all together into one trip? Without batching, you have all these independent, messy network calls totally clogging the UI and eating up your RPC node quota. It's a disaster, but with batching, it's elegant. We use a micro-batching pattern. The UI actually aggregates near-simultaneous reads, literally within a single JavaScript microtask tick, into one neat, organized array. We then send that single payload to an API RPC batch endpoint. Your backend adapter processes it in one go, which vastly reduces latency and actually saves you money on RPC costs. It is a total game changer for dashboards that have tons of data.
Section 4. Wallet flows and connections. Handing over the keys securely.
This right here is where user trust is either won or lost. A resilient wallet integration is totally non-negotiable. Your interactions need to be explicit, minimal, and always reversible for the user. We never want the user to feel trapped or confused about what they're actually signing. So we follow a strict, explicit wallet session flow. Step 1, connect by triggering the wallet UI. Step 2, recover session. If they refresh the page, use AutoConnect so they aren't forced to reauthorize constantly. Step 3, and this is the big one, sign transaction.
We always use the wallet adapter's signed transaction method. Hear me on this. We never, ever touch raw private keys in the front end. Once signed, we serialize the transaction client side and then pass it to our backend adapter for idempotent submission. And finally, step 4. Handle disconnects gracefully.
Section 5. Lazy loading and performance. Don't build the backseat until someone sits there. Think about it. If a user is just landing on your homepage, they do not need the code for your incredibly complex, decentralized exchange swapping interface downloaded immediately. We want to keep that initial application load incredibly light. Here's how that works under the hood. Lazy loading uses tools like React.lazy and Suspense to defer loading those heavy route components. Bundlers like Vite or Webpack actually use these React features to physically split your code into smaller chunks. So the user only downloads the code when they actually navigate to that specific part of the app. It shrinks your initial bundle size drastically, which makes your app feel instantly responsive.
Section 6. Finalizing the capstone. Checking the dash.
We've built the chassis, we've installed the steering wheel, and now we need to run our diagnostics. We're going to use audit tools, specifically Lighthouse, to measure our new UI against a very strict performance budget. Our first major target, less than 400 kilobytes. We want our zipped app shell bundle to be strictly under this limit. By using the lazy loading techniques we just talked about and being super careful with our dependencies, hitting this sub 400 kilobyte target ensures that even users on slower connections can access your DApp without suffering a massive initial download penalty.
And here's the second crucial metric: less than 3 seconds. Specifically, we want to achieve a time to interactive, or TTI, of less than 3 seconds on a simulated slow 3G network. If you hit this, your application is officially snappy. It means the user can start clicking, scrolling, and interacting almost immediately, completely avoiding that dreaded spinning wheel of death we talked about at the very beginning. Now, you have to ask yourself this final diagnostic question. Did we actually capture all caught errors and send them to our observability endpoint? Because things will go wrong. RPCs will definitely fail. Users will reject signatures. When that happens, we need to gracefully surface a friendly little UI toast message to the user, like transaction cancel, for example, while quietly sending a structured, detailed error log back to our backend observability endpoint so we can actually track and fix those bugs.
Okay, let's do a really quick recap to solidify everything we've covered about building a highly responsive Solana frontend. First, implement React Query and IndexedDB for smart caching. Second, batch your UI reads to an API RPC batch endpoint. Third, keep your wallet flows explicit, serialize on the client, and submit via the server. Fourth, apply React.lazy for code splitting. And finally, always validate your Lighthouse scores against a strict performance budget. If you do all of this, you have literally just engineered a fully functional, highly performant, deployable app.
And that brings us to the end. Again, this explainer was made by Forge College. I want to leave you with one final thought. Now that you know the secrets of caching, batching, and lazy loading, what is the single biggest performance bottleneck in the DApp you are building right now? And exactly how are you going to fix it today? Think about it. Keep building your Web3 future, and be sure to visit forge.college to dive deeper into this subject and level up your Web3 development skills. Thanks for hanging out with me for this explainer.